Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
We just talked about forming a partnership together and seeing how high we can take this thing together, adding stability at that position, which is a really important position. Kevin has this great term, we do things on our terms. We do things on our terms on the field. And I also think that applies to team building. And so, getting him in the fold, getting him to buy in, I think that was really, it was a win-win solution. Again, he gave up things but to make this partnership work, and we're excited to have him.
That was Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, Vikings general manager, talking about Kirk Cousins and getting the contract done. And yes, we have, a couple days ago, we saw the same thing that a lot of you who sent us the article via email and Twitter summarizing Ben Leber's podcast, where we'll get into all of it. Ben Leber saying that there was a secret meeting sort of behind the scenes that Kirk led, and we'll get into the details there. But this show, Purple Daily, Daily Vikings Entertainment, we just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die, is presented by Surly Brewing Company and TCL, one of the world's best-selling consumer electronics brands. They have a new lineup of award-winning TVs, delivering the most entertainment with stunning resolution, all at an affordable cost. Enjoy more of the things you love with TCL. Before we get into the Kirk Cousins stuff from Ben Leber, did you guys see the breaking Hard Knocks news about 30 minutes ago?
No.
We have a Hard Knocks team.
Oh.
For
yes,
2022.
Yes, I did see this.
I actually have not seen this. So can I guess? Mm-hmm. Is it Man Campbell and the Lions?
Dan Campbell doesn't
Let's
just
go.
like football.
Dan
Campbell loves football.
We're going to kick you in the teeth, all right? And when you punch us back, we're going to smile at you. And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, all right? And we're going to stand up. And then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. All right, and on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap, and we're going to get up, and then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing. All right, that's going to be the mentality.
Football, yeah! Football!
It's hard to laugh too much because they did absolutely take a chunk out of the Vikings anatomy.
Can I say that aside from the fact that Zim did not win a Super Bowl here, I think the second biggest disappointment of the Zimmer tenure might be they never got on Hard Knocks. Can you imagine how much fun? I mean, when Mike was the DC in Cincinnati on Hard Knocks, it was a festival of F-bombs. It was fantastic. It was flippin' fantastic. Can you imagine how much fun a Zim, because he couldn't have helped himself. I really, really looked forward to and thought that eventually they would find a way to shoehorn the Vikings in. And the fact that they didn't is my second greatest disappointment of the Zimmer era next to the Super Bowl.
Are you guys, real quick, because we got to get to this Leber Cousins stuff, but are you a little shocked that the Vikings have never been on Hard Knocks? They're always so interesting. Like they've had, like Zimmer is interesting. I mean, going way back. Well, does it go back to Tice? No, Hard Knocks came around like in 2006 or something. But just like there's so many things that would be interesting about Justin Jefferson. Even as a segue here, I would be curious to see exactly what Kirk Cousins is like in more doses, right? What is he like at practice? What is he like? I think we kind of know, but
Absolutely. But I mean, there were times because I think if you make the playoffs, you don't have to go on the next season. And if you have a new coach, you don't. But I think that there were times where the Vikings could have been picked. And I'm sure that they resisted that. But who cares?
Yeah.
Put them on. It would have been great.
So, all right. So Ben Leber has a podcast. And I'm getting this summary. And I did listen to this clip too. I'm just going to read you the quotes from this heavy.com summary that's been going around. Mm-hmm. And there's always like so many, there's Vikings news and there's mock drafts. This is the most like sent article that I have personally received from our audience over a 2-day weekend in 2022 so far. 50 people sent this article. Like, did you see this? You guys when you guys going to talk about this? And so here we are. Let's talk about this. So Ben Leber said, "Let me just say this to everyone who says Kirk is not a leader." I read that sentence and I was like, oh, do tell. I will agree with you for the most part up until this point. I do think he lacks some of the intangibles most people are looking for at that position. All right, so he prefaces by saying, you guys are right. So I just want, like, for the Cousins Crusaders who take jabs at us, and we hear things and we've watched enough football in our lives to be able to sort of, that there's just a couple leadership chips missing there compared to some of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. You guys are making that up. Ben Leber, he's not in the locker room on a regular basis, but Ben Leber is more on the inside than I am. He's more on the inside than you guys are. And he is saying, up until this point, I agree that he lacks some of the intangibles most people are looking for at that position. Just want to throw that out there. But then he continues. There is a situation that happened this offseason that I'm privy to, the information that has galvanized that locker room towards Kirk in ways that the public does not know. There was a meeting, all of the biggest names on the team at this meeting, and Kirk blew everybody away in how he handled it, the things that were said in that group, because it wasn't just this is a typo here. There were other people in the organization there. Apparently, a couple guys walked out of the meeting and said, Kirk's our dog. Kirk's our freaking dog. Apparently, Kirk came in very prepared for this type of meeting. Apparently, he had been taking notes all season long before that, laid it all out. I guess the guys were like, damn, this is a guy that we can ride with, a guy that's going to have our back at all times. Kirk's been listening, and Kirk's been writing stuff down. Write that down. And Kirk has the team's back. What are your thoughts?
This is so interesting. God, I love this.
It is. This is fascinating.
So I've got questions and I've got thoughts. I guess my first question is because the team hasn't, unless this was held the day after the season came to an end, I would like to know exactly who was there. Like, was it Jefferson and Cook and Thielen and Harris and Smith? Like that? Exactly. So, like, if we Lepantize this, do we go through the whole roster? Do we go through 5 guys? Like if Ben got this from Thielen, then I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Not really. If he got this from Jefferson, and like Jefferson said, oh yeah, I've changed, then my opinion of this entire thing is changed. So the most important thing is, where did Ben get this from? Now, I'm not asking him to reveal his sources. I'm just saying, in the context of the conversation we're about to have, that to me is important. But here's the one thing that I would urge. This is the wait and see part. So there's this mentality out there that Kevin O'Connell, and I'm not shooting it down, I'm just saying it's the mentality right now, can change Kirk. Well, like Kevin O'Connell can get all the things from Kirk that Mike didn't try to get, that the Vikings couldn't get. Heck, that the first time around in Washington, Kevin couldn't get, and a lot of people who have gone on to very successful careers in coaching couldn't get. The feeling now is Kevin O'Connell and Kirk are going to be the perfect pairing, and that Kirk is going to excel now. All right. That being said, though, here's my concern about the very thing that Ben is reporting. Kirk took notes all year. Of course he did. He's Kirk. Kirk came in and blew them away in a meeting in a controlled environment. Of course he did. Kirk Cousins, I've said this from year one, I think. He is a professional quarterback when it comes to knowing when the bullets aren't flying, exactly what to do, what to say. People hear this as a criticism, and it's not meant that way. Kirk Cousins has the day-to-day life of being a quarterback, a star one, I think, down pat. It's on Sundays when everything breaks down, when your notes no longer matter, when your game plan is thrown into chaos, when everything is going wrong. It's almost like a song, when you're down and troubled and you need a helping hand. That's the time that you say, okay, Kirk, can you do it? And that's the time when Kirk has been like, oh, crap. So nothing about this shocks me. And do I think that the change from Kevin to Mike is going to make a difference? Yes. And do I think that it's become incredibly convenient to just say, this was all Mike's fault? Screw Mike Zimmer. This is all there. It's fine now. Yes. But do I believe that on Sunday afternoons, when everything is going wrong, that Kirk Cousins can become somebody who's not? I'm waiting to see there.
Well, and that I think to that point, real quick, because I have some thoughts and questions off this too. I'm glad Ben threw this out there. I wish he would have either had more specific information or was more comfortable going with more specific information. It felt like, hey, I'm not necessarily, this isn't supposed to get out and I can't go too far with this, but I just want to say there's a misperception here based on what's happened the last couple months. And so I'm glad that he threw it out there. To the points you're making, old Macadac made his ScoreNorth.com columnist return over the weekend.
Yeah, bravo!
Old
It's been a
Macadac.
while.
And we can do a full we can do this like later in the week or sometime, in April, but to the things you're talking about when everything breaks down. It's one thing, his diligent note-taking and his diligent preparation and all of the things that make him one of the most organized quarterbacks in the NFL. That's how you go from being kind of like he had one Power 5 scholarship offer coming out of high school, and it was late. It was after his senior season. Michigan State jumped in, right? So it's not like he was this all-world talent that was jumping off the film in high school. So he got his opportunity. He was at the bottom of the pecking order at Michigan State. Study, grind, prepare. Boom, you get your chance. Okay, NFL seems like a possibility. Okay, but you're not going to be a first-round pick, not going to be a second-round pick. You're going to be a fourth-round pick. Study, grind, prepare, get the job in Washington. Like his whole career has been, he is great preparing. And you even see the Vikings statistically, offensively, they do well on the scripted plays when things start to break down later in the first half or in the second half. Not all the time, but statistically, his performance drops off. So I like where you're going with this is so interesting, in that he is impressing people with all the different things that he has taken notes on and observed. And hey guys, I'm going to galvanize you with my thoughts after taking some time to think about it. But the area where they need him the most is, like you said, when there is no time to think or prepare. Right. It's crisis mode. The opposing team is getting pressure on you. I mean, Cousins was 32nd in the NFL last year under pressure in terms of yards per attempt. Joe Burrow and Matthew Stafford were number 1 and 2. Russell Wilson was number 3. So that whole dynamic of your preparation can only take you so far, and then at some point, like, there's another level instinctually, improvisationally to your game. So I noticed that part of it too. But my initial gut reaction here is, if you're wondering whether someone is a great leader or a galvanizing leader, and you're kind of on the fence, like Ben Leber is kind of on the fence, like he's going into this offseason, he even said in his podcast, yeah, he's kind of missing some chips, but then he did this thing in this meeting. If you're still wondering about a guy who's 34 years old, 10 years into it, you probably already know the answer. He's not Tom Brady when it comes to leadership. He's not Russell Wilson when it comes to leadership. He's not the guy that's the center focus charismatically of a room more often than not. I mean, can he get better? Are there things he can do well? It looks like he's trying to, and I think that's great. I mean, taking that step, whatever this meeting was and whatever was said, if he's trying to take a step toward, listen, guys, this whole thing was a train wreck last year, the year before. Here's the areas where we can get better. Here's the areas where I can get better. And here's what Kevin O'Connell can bring to the offense. And I am going to be the central figure for this in my own Kirkian way. Awesome. But I think it's really hard to just sort of flip the switch and be a charismatic, gravitational pull leader when you've been in the league for over a decade. And you're at 34 years old, you're not a fully finished product, but most people are pretty close. So
This is not going to be here. This is not going to be what Kirk stands want to hear, but here's how I see it. Kirk Cousins is at his best when things slow down and he can now operate. It's true in games. The Vikings are down by 3 touchdowns. Bang, bang, bang. Stats go through the roof. Now they're down by a touchdown. Now here, look at what Kirk is doing. And I think the non-Kirk stance say, okay, but why wasn't he doing that before when the game was initially closer? This feels to me, Kirk, I think the best term is this, and I'm just trying to make this up off the cuff. Kirk is very good at pouncing. Kirk pounces on opportunity. And Zimmer being shown the door. And his note-taking, I guarantee you, he's got a file of notes from every year he's played. There is no question this guy takes notes. He didn't just start this. This is him. Which, by the way, Phil, you're right. That's why he's good. Like that's exactly why
he is maximizing what Kirk Cousins as a 16-year-old or an 18-year-old probably wasn't supposed to be 5th all time in NFL passer rating.
Correct.
He has maximized himself, which is one of his stated goals in life.
And I think we can all exactly. I think we can all say this. Good for him, and he's worked hard, and that's awesome. And he's got paid great. But the reality is this. Zimmer gets fired. And now it's like Mike Zimmer was the devil. Mike Zimmer was this. He was that. And Kirk can, again, come in to a situation that's been cleared out of the pressure. The pressure's gone. Mike's gone. You're down by 21. The pressure's gone because just cut it loose. Mm-hmm. And he can take control. It's how he operates. Now the question becomes when things start to pick back up and heat up, can he operate then? And I'm not trying to rip the guy. I'm just saying that Ben's report is the least surprising thing of all time. And my question is, can he sustain that as we go down paths? And the other thing that I will cut in and say is for a man making as much as Kirk did, I'm not going to just say Zimmer was the devil and that Kirk was, oh, poor Kirk. I would have liked to have seen Mike embrace Kirk. But that being said, when you're paid as much as Kirk is, and you were brought in to be the quarterback, which in my opinion is one of the most important positions in your building, not just on your team, right? Mm-hmm. There's not many more important positions, especially for a very highly paid one, than quarterback. Why wasn't this addressed then? This took 4 years, folks. Why after 2019 didn't Kirk say, you know what, we've been successful, but we're never going to be as successful as we need to be as long as my relationship with the coach is this way.
Well, some of that's on Zimmer too, though.
It is. It's on both of them. But my point is it's on both of them. Mm-hmm. Why wasn't this brought to a head? And for those who are going to say, well, Judd, it might have been private. Something like that would have been obvious. It didn't change until they finally met in 2021. Okay. So I just have a lot of questions about where Ben Leber's report is going to lead. That's my question.
So I want to give you a reason why. So, my skepticism radar goes up a little bit here, but I'll tell you what I love about this in just a second after we tell you why we love Livia and Judd's chiseled physique moving its way beneath the 200-pound mark here shortly.
Look at this face. 240 pounds when I started, and now thanks to my friends at Livia Weight Control Centers, 201 pounds. I'm going to stop around 200 or so, but the great thing is I could keep going. But even better is Livia is going to help me keep my weight the same. My struggle in life has not been dropping pounds. I've done that several times. My struggle, like so many, has been keeping the pounds off. And I want you to join me in a program right now in which you can get 25% off plus 35 meals for free. That's right, 25% off plus 35 meals for free. And the best part is it might be Twin Cities based, but you also can choose a virtual option. So if you're a Purple Daily fan in, I don't know, New Mexico, Utah, you can call 855-GO-LIVEA or go to livea.com, livea.com, and check out how by summertime you can be like me. Chiseled might not be the right word, but guess what? Ladies and gentlemen, my clothes fit again. That's a great feeling. Livea, livea.com.
Also, those Chill Boys are fitting pretty good too. Chillboys.com, the most comfortable underwear that you're going to find out there. And I had the long underwear rocking yesterday. It's great. Put some basketball shorts over it. Look like Kevin Durant, at least when I look in the mirror. It's great.
My wife mocks me, and I say that. So I'm a basketball player now. Yeah. She's like, no,
I look
you're
like
an idiot,
Tracy McGrady right now. Okay, back off.
I go around the house just fake dribbling a basketball.
Chill Boys is a Minnesota-based company, and you can find them online at chillboys.com. Bamboo fabric, athletic fit, the long underwear. Find out why so many Purple Daily and Score North listeners have made the switch to Chill Boys, chillboys.com. So what I love about this, and again, I wish we had more specific details about what was said, what was the nature of the conversation, who exactly was in the room for this high-level secretive meeting, right? But as we're seeing here the last couple of years with this team, this joyless, stale collection led by angry, cantankerous, divisive Mike Zimmer, where he'd get up at the podium and just savage the third-string young quarterback for no reason, right? Throw Wyatt Davis under the bus. I mean, hell, even when the Vikings were going pretty good like 6 years ago, he's throwing his offensive line under the bus, the line that Alex Boone played for. Just kind of a divisive fellow. I love the fact that Kevin O'Connell brings a more even-handed approach and brings a prior relationship with Kirk Cousins. And to whatever degree Kirk can take steps as a leader and as a player, I think Kevin is the guy to help unlock and empower that. Chemistry matters on a football team. I think joyfulness matters on a football team. And buy-in matters on a football team. And this team has had very little of those three things the last few years. I mean, the chemistry has probably been better than the buy-in. I can tell you the offensive players, a lot of them weren't buying into what Mike Zimmer was selling or just neglecting. But all of this feels like steps toward the way things felt in 2017, where, like, for the most part, great chemistry. I'm not saying they're going to go 13-3 and go to the NFC Championship game, but chemistry, joyfulness, and buy-in feel like much more realistic things with Kevin O'Connell and a fully engaged, bought-in Kirk Cousins than what we had 4 months ago with this franchise. Mm-hmm. So again, I don't know what to make fully of this Kirk Cousins thing, this galvanizing discussion, Kirk's our dog. But if the players feel right now going into the season like Kirk is their dog, that's really important. Now, whether he actually fulfills those things like, hey, we need you in crunch time on the road, it's prime time, like right. now the chips are on the table and like your performance matters. For the next 7 or 8 months, it really is all about the other things that you're not going to play a football game until September. So the best thing you can do is build chemistry, build buy-in, and if those players feel like Kirk is our dog, that's only going to help this team in 2022.
Yeah, I mean, if that transpires, that's great. I'm very much wait and see on this whole thing of, well, he got together a bunch of guys and we don't know who those guys were. I guess I would like to hear, like, if Justin Jefferson starts to talk about Kirk like he does Joe Burrow, I'm going to be swayed. And we just don't know yet. And look, I mean, Justin Jefferson, I think he's a good guy. And I think he speaks highly of the majority of people he probably plays with. But when he talks about Burrow, there's like a certain, I don't know, look that you're like, oh my God, he loves this guy. Mm-hmm. So if the Vikings are a top 5 to top 10 scoring offense in 2022, however you get there, I'm going to be swayed. Like, this is just all going to be now wait and see. Mm-hmm. I'm just hesitant, much like when we talk about our concerns about Kirk and the Kirk stands push back with, you guys hate Kirk Cousins. I'm hesitant to buy something from a guy who basically works for the team that he is saying, I can't tell you much, but I can tell you a little bit, because there is a chance that is a bit more than state run. So it's interesting. It's fun to talk about. And I'll be swayed when I actually see it.
Yeah, and just for the record, so Ben Leber is he's a former Viking, obviously. He's employed by the Vikings Entertainment Network. He's employed by the Vikings flagship radio station. So there is a vested interest in pushing, the positive, optimistic narrative. And but again, I'm not saying that this is
right. No, I know
a fraudulent thing. I'm just saying but the other thing too that I think is interesting, it's a harder hill for Kirk to climb to get buy-in with a locker room. And again, I'm not saying that like teammates hate him or teammates think he's a cancer or anything like that. I'm saying like to get Tom Brady level buy-in, which is like pinnacle peak buy-in, right? Where people are like going to maybe retire and then come back because you're coming back and they just love being around you and you're this great player and leader. Tom Brady, when he sends a text message to Gronk and says, hey, here's what we're doing. Are you in? I mean, it comes with like 7 Super Bowls, right? Isn't that how many he has now? He had 6 with the Patriots and 1 with the Bucs. 7 Super Bowl rings attached to it.
Oh, that's it?
Kirk Cousins, and some of this is not his fault, but some of it is somewhat self-inflicted. He's never won anything meaningful. Like he's never been close in high school or college or the NFL. Like his accomplishment is that Saints playoff game. So it's going to be harder for him at age 34 in his career to get a full room of people to look at him and be like, that's the freaking man. That's our freaking dog. So when I hear players through Ben Leber, and whether this is second hand or third hand or whatever it is, say that, I think that's good. Because it's hard to get that type of buy-in when you don't have trophies on your mantle. Like when when your one trophy is like the Saints playoff win or like a, second-rate bowl game at Michigan State. He's not the Pied Piper walking in. I mean, hell, you see this social proof in different instances in life. I mean, how many times, like, you all went to college for at least 5 minutes? Not to rag on adjunct professors, but there's a difference in college going to journalism school when, like, someone who's in the business comes and speaks to your class versus, like, a teacher's assistant.
Right.
Someone who's, like, taken lumps, who's succeeded, who's done ratings, who's done, who's been an award-winning writer. Like, that opinion and that leadership matters more than the person that hasn't been there before. And I think Kirk has to fight some of that in NFL locker rooms.
Well, and plus you can tell with guys, I mean, this is true in life, but it's especially true in sports. It is not hard to group the it factor guys from they're good guys, but they don't have it factor from he's a worker bee to he tries hard. Mm-hmm. Like those groups aren't, it doesn't take, oh my God, which one am I going to put in which, right? Mm-hmm. It factor guys are rare. They're hard to find. And it's my opinion, for the most part, they are born with that gene. Very few people get that gene. And to have it in sports is really hard. Mm-hmm. And Kirk doesn't. And it's not his fault. He just doesn't have it. Brady does. Rodgers, when he's actually not being a freak, does. But he's being a freak too much now.
I mean, some of the evidence there is pretty damning too. Like,
well, now it is. Now he doesn't. Like, he's cost himself that group.
He's so good, but yeah.
But I mean, Kirk is. In fact, the professor thing's a very interesting spin because Kirk is in some ways like a football professor. Like, he takes copious notes. He's very smart. Like, I would never doubt, like, Kirk doesn't know the plays. No, Kirk knows the plays really well. Mm-hmm. It's why Kirk is such an interesting study of a quarterback. And it's why I think the Kirk stands, if they would open up their minds more, it's fun to talk about, because Kirk Cousins does a lot of things incredibly well. Like, there's no debating that. If he was Ponder, bleep him. Who cares, right? But he's not. And Kirk Cousins is incredibly prepared. And Kirk Cousins, in the calm of March, I bet can conduct a meeting like nobody's business. But when it all breaks down, can he do that? And the answer to that question has been an unequivocal no.
Well,
so we'll find out.
I wouldn't use the word unequivocal, because last year he did, to his credit, take some steps in that direction. Like, he had some dagger games with the defense, like, at the end, and it's undeniable. He did more in that department last year than in some of the previous seasons. But if you dig even further beneath the surface, against pressure, game on the line, like, there are deficiencies there compared to other quarterbacks. And we'll get into some of the numbers and the breakdowns on a future episode of Purple Daily for people that haven't heard us talk about that in, 3 days. But yeah, like, there's still a long ways to go to be Matthew Stafford, Tom Brady level in terms of gravitational pull.
When a bad but not absolutely awful pick against San Francisco throws your season into disarray, you got problems.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, I mean, that's as simple as I can put it without citing statistics. That interception derailed a guy when it should have been like, oh, too bad.
Maybe he needs to play like he's got a couple Surly Furiouses in him, right? Just be responsible, of course, but maybe just a little buzz. Just a little buzz.
How about this? How about we give Kirk the first Surly variety pack of 2022? Now, I was told in the suite on Saturday, I have new talking points coming. So while I still have my chance, I want to hammer home the fact that the Surly variety pack in liquor stores right down the street from you and me, Furious, which of course is the standard bearer, Havoc Machine, Ghost Empire Dark Lager, and the delicious Hyper Modern Idaho 7 IPA. I can tell you right now, you pick up that variety pack, you are going to be having a 4 touchdown game. That's right, a 4 touchdown game, because it's delicious. More Surly talking points on the way. More beers about to be unveiled. That's right.
Boom. Also, hey, Federated Insurance, they're basically like having a great offensive line for your business. Risk management and maximizing your upside. That's what Federated is all about. And they have training programs for all their employees, too, to make sure that they are top-notch in their field. They go through a several-month training program in Owatonna before they get assigned to regional offices throughout the country. They specialize in core industries that they know and understand rather than trying to sell as many policies as possible. So find out more about how Federated can help your business at federatedinsurance.com. Federated, where it's our business to protect yours. All right, real quick before Mock Draft Monday. So free agency update. According to our friend Darren Doogie Wolfson from the Scoop Podcast and 5 Eyewitness News, the Vikings have free agents cornerback Nate Hairston and offensive lineman Jesse Davis visiting today. So Jesse Davis is a 30-year-old tackle who can also play some guard. So he started a couple games at left guard for the Dolphins last year, but he was mainly their right tackle. And he was an undrafted free agent in 2015. The Vikings offensive line coach, I believe, has that connection from Miami. And then Hairston is a backup cornerback who can also dabble in some safety. Former 5th-round pick by the Colts in 2017, most recently with Denver and Ed Donatel. So kind of a swing backup cornerback, and I would say a swing backup lineman in Jesse Davis here. So you need this team needs some depth in both of those areas.
So I've got one question about Davis, who was, by the way, one of the lowest rated tackles by PFF in 2021. He was bad. I wonder if the goal there would be to move him to guard.
Yeah, well, he started 2 games at left guard.
Right, and I wonder if the goal there would be to make him a starting guard, which I don't love that idea, but it makes some sense that at this point in time, with the desperation at guard, that you might have a Jesse Davis competition against Wyatt Davis. I don't know. Just a thought.
No, I could see that.
Just a thought.
They're going to go into the season and either center or guard is going to be just the same or open for competition, right? Or
I got to admit, I'm surprised by that. I really thought that they would stabilize one of those two more than this.
They might still. My guy. Hey, listen, I am contractually obligated to mention the name J.C. Treader on this show until he signs with the Vikings or somewhere else.
I hope his dad's paying you.
No, I should. It should be a side hustle.
Reach out to Mr. Treader and say, you're liking all of the tweets about your son. I'm mentioning your son's name minimum once a day on the Mackie and Judd.
I'm gonna slide into his dad's DMs and just see if I can get some information. What's the deal? What's up with your son's knees?
Inside.
Are they pretty rickety?
Rickety. Thanks. What are you, 75?
What's up with those knees?
I got rickety knees with those snazzy pants that you're wearing.
All right, boys, it is time here.
I want to mock!
For a little Mock Draft Monday to wrap Purple Daily today. And this one comes from Chad Reuter, NFL.com. He's a draft analyst, and he has a 4-round 1.0. Boys,
mercy.
a 4-round mock draft.
It's almost April. We're going all in, Declan. Don't be shaking your head. Embrace the mock. Embrace the
I love the mock
mockery.
draft community. I love it.
That's so
Sounds a little condescending there.
It's
sounds like
just
me.
it's one of the most fascinating mock draft community and Jersey takes.
Yeah, I was
those are my
gonna say
2
you
favorite
hate-
communities that I'm fascinated by. I think they're so interesting people.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it here. So I won't go through every pick in all 4 rounds unless you guys want me to.
Well,
but I'll pick
hold on.
and
I thought
choose
we
here.
were cleared out till 2 p.m. Central.
Yeah. So Jacksonville going with Aiden Hutchinson, number 1 overall. Malik Willis going number 2 to the Lions.
So is that steam? Is that legit, or is that just a pivot that the mockers are doing?
Well, I'm going through the write-up here. Let's see here. Head coach Dan Campbell stated during his NFL Combine press conference he's willing to change his offense to fit the skills of the best player he could get at the position, meaning Jared Goff sucks. If there's someone better, we will adjust our system.
Yeah.
I don't think that was meant as a hint, but I think it at least shows that some teams are open to taking a playmaker instead of requiring a robotic efficiency from their signal caller. So he could also sit behind Jared Goff for a year, right? Interesting. The Falcons taking Kenny Pickett with the 3rd overall pick. So a lot of mockers like Godfather and Toddfather mock over at ESPN are not having quarterbacks anywhere in the top 10. And Chad Reuter, who's a credible mocker for NFL.com, has 2 quarterbacks in the top 3. What do you think is more likely, 2 quarterbacks in the top 3 or 0 quarterbacks in the top 10?
Right now, 0 quarterbacks in the top 10. I don't think there's any way Kenny Pickett goes in the top 10.
But I don't think there's any way Malik Willis goes, 15th.
Right. So I agree with that. So it's probably 1. I think Malik Willis will go in the top 10.
Okay.
I think
All right.
picking in small hands won't.
His little
little hands.
Burger King hands.
I have little hands.
Got these tiny hands, man. All right, Trayvon Walker, the edge rusher, to the Jets at 4. Evan Neal, the tackle from Alabama, to the Giants at 5. Wow. Matt Corral to the Panthers at 6. So three quarterbacks off the board.
Chad.
Oh, man. Is it? Sorry, it is Chad, right? Chad Reuter.
Yeah. No, I'm just
right.
saying Chad. Come on, 3.
Thought you were just calling him a Chad. All right, Kyle Hamilton, number 7 to the Giants. He's the safety from Notre Dame. Kayvon Thibodeau to the Texans at 8, edge rusher. Ike Ekwonu to the Seahawks at 9. He's the tackle from NC State. Jordan Davis, interior defensive line, to the Eagles at 10. Drake London, receiver, to Washington. Desmond Ridder, quarterback, to the Steelers in a projected trade with the Vikings. Ooh. So he's got the Steelers trading up here to 12 to get Desmond Ridder, and the Vikings trading back, 5 spots?
No, more than that.
Steelers, 8.
Yeah, where are they? They're at 20. Yep.
Yeah, they're 8 spots back.
So 8 spots. So that would cost. I mean, that might cost you a future first-round pick, which would be interesting.
Yep.
And the Vikings wind up with Utah linebacker Devin Lloyd, according to this mock.
I want a mock.
Lloyd reminds me of a more slight version of Anthony Barr, a longtime Viking star who is currently a free agent. Lloyd can play outside or inside and become quite adept at rushing the passer when given his chance last fall.
Does he mock the trade or no?
Yes. He says they
He doesn't
swap
have
first round picks.
Right, but he doesn't have
the
the compensation.
Okay.
No,
Sorry,
he does say that they get Pittsburgh's 2023 first round pick and they swap day 3 selections. So the day 3 selections is up in the air. But yes, they would get the Steelers' first round pick. It'd be similar to like what the Bears did for Justin Fields.
I hear you.
Similar to that.
Okay.
Yeah, so they would be getting an additional first round pick for 2023. My bad. Mm-hmm. Yes. So
okay.
All right.
I like that. I like that. Yeah, because that's going to give you more capital to potentially move up in the 2023 draft. Linebacker. Boy, unless this guy is at 20 clearly the best player, like beyond a shadow of a doubt. As far as positions go, I'm not drafting a linebacker, but that's just me.
In the second round, he's got Greg Dulcich, the tight end from UCLA, long-haired, mustached tight end from UCLA, going to the Vikings. Okay.
What?
Well, I mean, Irv Smith's been hurt. I mean,
I know, but
we've been waiting on Irv Smith for like 3 years at this point. So
this is true, but this offense doesn't really love a tight end.
That's true. It's a little bit weird. Maybe Chad's been indulging in some surlies.
Yeah.
Third round, he's got Cam Taylor-Britt, the cornerback from Nebraska, going to the Vikings. Okay. Nebraska's pretty terrible, but that's fine. They can still have some good NFL players. And then round 4, I'm just scrolling here. Judd's not happy with this mock.
Oh, I hate it.
Round 4.
But I love Surly, so I feel good now. I feel so much better.
Vikings would be... Where the hell are they? Oh, man.
they folded up. They folded up their tent.
Did they? I don't know. This is part of the swap. He does not have the Vikings with a 4th round pick, but whatever. I think you guys get the gist of it. So
yeah, it's a day 3, right?
Cool.
Yeah, rounds 2 and 3 are Friday. So yes, that's
so
the day 3 swap.
Yep. So they could be picking in the 5th round or something. So, anyways, all right. There's a mock draft.
I didn't enjoy that mock. I mean, it's not your fault. I just didn't enjoy it. I don't think they're going to take a tight end. Their offense doesn't love to use a tight end. So why are you going to take one in the 2nd round? Send
your concerns to Chad Reuter.
You'd rather draft a wide receiver and go and try and stack that position.
I think his email address is on there.
Is Chad not aware of how Kevin O'Connell...
He's been on Score before.
And I like Chad, but I mean, KOC runs things a different way. I've adjusted.
Are you saying Chad still thinks that Mike Zimmer coaches the Vikings?
I'm saying he's confused by the personnel groupings that we will use. I mean, come on. You go 11.
Oh. All right. That's a wrap. Send us your thoughts on the Ben Leber comments on his podcast. What do you think? Do you think Kirk is all of a sudden going to be a Tom Brady-like leader? Or do you think there's something happening here behind the scenes galvanizing this team ready to pop in 2022? We'll see. This has been another edition of Purple Daily, Daily Vikings Entertainment. We'll see you guys tomorrow.